Hello, happy Tuesday, everybody. So glad you can join us. We have a guest tonight. I know this is only my third time in a row getting back to doing lives. And I hope wherever you are in this world that you have nice weather and are doing well. So this evening we have Phil joining us. And this week, you guys will get to hear on the Listen for Life Aphasia podcast my first interview with Phil. But what we're doing tonight is we are talking about a topic. It's come up, I've seen it a lot in the Facebook groups, and I really wanted to bring it up tonight. It's about how do Phil, you're going to help me out with this. How when a person with aphasia is out in public and they're trying to get something done, order a meal, get coffee, and the person that should be talking to them and asking them the questions either dismisses them, maybe even says something rude, looks around for somebody else to ask the question of. So I really wanted to get into this topic tonight and see what Phil has to say about it. Here's some of his experiences, and let's talk about aphasia advocacy because that's where we all need to get, whether we're advocating for someone with aphasia or the person for themselves. So without further ado, Phil, welcome to the show.
Hello.
So cool. So great to have you back on here. It looks like we've got a little bit of a delay going on with the internet. Probably all this fun wind I have going on in my neck of the woods.
So what do you want to know with me? What do
you want me to do? Phil, just give us a quick story about who you are and your aphasia.
Okay, well, I have aphasia, obviously. I had a stroke 3 years ago, and it was really bad. Like, in fact, anything with aphasia was bad. Sorry. Everyone is different. But I got better because I'll tell you this right now. The only way to get better is practice. There's no way around this. There's no pure or say, haha. That's not. There's no way around that. So remember that, people. Don't think there's either way out of this. It can be better, but if you don't practice, there's no way around it. But you see my video later on. But what I do now is I'm an advocate for the National Aphasia Association, and what I do now is I like to tell other people's stories, and I put it on YouTube. It's Aphasia P. The reason why I found out is that when I was here the whole time, I found out when people are there in a Zooming in for other people, you're only there for like an hour. And then you get in the smaller groups and you're there for like 3 minutes. And it usually goes like this. My name's Phil. I have aphasia. I like a dog or a cat and whatever. And then that's it. And then I think about it, like, there has to be better than that. Like, I'm something more than aphasia. And then I was looking at other people and I said, that's what I want to do. I want to tell people tell their stories too. And that's why I started my own channel for YouTube. Because I can tell my stories all today, but I wanted other people to tell their stories too, because my mantras, it's your voice. The only way to do better is to practice. There's no way around that. And I say, you don't have to talk like me, but you have to be able to talk and listen to. Because when you look at YouTube is cool, but pictures is not the whole thing. Like, you have aphasia. I don't need the pictures. I need to talk with themselves. And that's why all my resources there, I'm being able to call YouTube the right way. So just get in there and talk with other people. and to talk to other people who have aphasia, also with other people too, just different people in general. So that's my goal, and I'm going to do it whether they like it or not.
Heck yeah.
I
Love it.
already told, I've told them already that I'm gonna. This is what I'm gonna do. This and like, okay. Now the thing is, I get other people to talk to, and that's going to take time, but I will.
Absolutely. And we're here to support you, Phil. So let's talk a little bit about maybe the early days
Uh-huh.
after your stroke, and you're just getting back out into the community. How long would you say it took you in your recovery before you were able, before you ventured out?
Well, the first thing is for 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, I was in the hospital
Yeah.
the whole time. So when I got from Dayton, Ohio, the people.
Uh-oh, it looks like Phil is the one having the internet connection. Doggone it. We were just getting ready for his story about 10 months. 10 months he did rehab, folks. Well, I hope Phil can reconnect, but until Phil comes back with us, I'm going to take him down and you guys get to look at me. So, if you guys are listening live, wherever you are listening from, we're streaming to multiple platforms. If you have aphasia and you've ever felt ignored or dismissed in a conversation, even if it's with someone you know, I'd like you to drop a heart, like a yellow heart, something like that. Drop something into the comment section so that others can feel that they are not alone. So when Phil gets back to us, in the meantime, let's talk about some stories. I have a story, and this is from Phyllis. Phyllis is, gosh, 4 or 5 years after aphasia. And Phyllis told me about a time going to the coffee shop. I won't name which coffee shop. And the thing about it is she was there with her daughter, but her daughter had stepped away for a while. And when she got up to the register, Phyllis is trying her best to order. She had practiced with her daughter before they got there. She knew what she wanted to order, but in the pressure of the moment, she didn't perform the way she wanted to. Well, the barista or the cashier, whatever we're going to call her, um, started immediately looking around for the daughter and basically put her hand up to Phyllis and said, I don't understand. I need to move the line. Someone was with you. Can she tell me your order? And Phyllis really was heartbroken about that because she had been working and she did understand the challenge of the cashier who had a line that needed to keep the line moving. But it was one of those moments that deflated her. And it took her a long time to build up the gumption to try it again, despite the amount of practicing she had done. So I'm wondering, those of you in the audience, do you have a story? Do you have a similar experience? And what I really want to get into tonight is not just about sharing the stories, but what can we do about it? So part of it, and part of what I do as a speech pathologist working with my clients and their families, is how do we advocate? How do we um, teach the person with aphasia how to advocate for themselves? This is where I was really curious, really wanted to hear from Phil how he navigated this. But some examples I'll share from other clients, which is some of them come with a card. Let's just use the coffee house example. They step up to the cashier to order. One of my clients has his order already typed out on his phone. He opens up the notes app and he shows it to the cashier and he gets his order done exactly right. And then he will say, thank you at the end, and then that takes the pressure off of him. I have another person that would come and order and say, I need a minute. I know what I want. Let me say it. And so they've learned how to advocate for themselves in that kind of a situation. I have another gentleman who, when he goes out to eat with his partner, the waitress server often will look to the partner, like once she realizes he has trouble talking, the server will look to his partner and say, what would he like to eat? Totally dismissive. But what my client does now is, when she comes up, he says, hello, I have aphasia. I need an extra minute to tell you what I want. And he has practiced it. He knows how to say that sentence easily and effectively, and he's tried it in all different kinds of situations, which is really important. And then he can get through ordering on the menu. But he also does other things. He doesn't just do it all through speech. He uses gestures. He uses, head nods, head shakes. He does things like pointing to, where on the menu. And another way that folks with aphasia can advocate for themselves is by preparing ahead of time. Yeah, it's kind of a drag. It takes the spontaneity out of going out to eat, right? But knowing what the menu is ahead of time, knowing what you think you want to eat, maybe writing it down or take a picture of it with your phone. Most everybody's walking around these days with a smartphone with aphasia, without aphasia. It's just one of those things. So, how do you advocate for yourself? Well, then let's say you are the partner, you're the spouse, you're the friend, and you notice that the server is not giving the time of day to your friend who has aphasia. You can say, he has aphasia. Could you just give him a second? He'd like to order for himself. Would that be okay? And usually you don't have to give a dissertation about what is aphasia and why do you need extra help. So, for those of you listening out there, what are your strategies? If you're going to order fast food, do you go to the drive-through and do it by speech? Or how do you do it? Do you go into the fast food restaurant and use the kiosk and order so that you avoid talking? I mean, that is a strategy. Of course, I always want my folks to talk as much as they can, but it is about total communication, right? We use facial expression and head nodding and shaking and pointing to things and showing things on our phone or saying just a minute, right? Gestures can go an awful long way as well. So, I would love to know from any of you out there in the audience, do you have a story to share? Thank you, Aphasia Cheerleader. Inside at the kiosk is so helpful. I have heard this a lot now that fast food restaurants have more of these kiosks inside. It's a lot easier to order. So, what do you do when you need to advocate for yourself when you have aphasia with family or friends? Do you do it differently with them? Like, hey, give me a minute. Like, you're running me over, dude. What's going on? How do you do it differently? Because we advocate, and this is something you have to work on in therapy. We advocate differently based on the situation we're in. Do we know the person? Do we are we out in public and surrounded by people that we don't know? Do we advocate differently with your spouse, or do you just snap at your spouse and expect them to know how to advocate for you? Do you find when you have aphasia that you have to remind the people that you know and love what they need to do? Do you hide? So these are a lot of questions I'm asking, right? Prepare, prepare, prepare. Yes, absolutely. Um, but like I said a few minutes ago, it does take out that spontaneity, right? Like, oh, let's just go to dinner. Oh no, I need to look at the menu first. Or you may, and I wonder if Asia cheerleader, if you just let your husband do it for you. Or if you tell him, like maybe you're not feeling up to it, maybe you're feeling tired, and you say, honey, I'd like you to get me the steak medium rare and baked potato with everything. So you tell him, and then he orders for both of you. What is it your strategies are? So we're not going to solve all this tonight. It's a bummer we couldn't get Phil back here on our live stream, but this week on the podcast, Listen for Life Aphasia podcast, is my whole interview with Phil. You get to hear more of his story. You get to take in his energy. And Phil, in a relatively short period of time, has transitioned from a person with aphasia to an ambassador. He's an ambassador now for the National Aphasia Association, and that's really exciting. And the other beautiful thing Phil's doing is he's got his own YouTube channel, and he wants to interview you, stroke survivor. He wants you to have 10 or 15 minutes to tell your story, how you want it to be heard. He wants to share it with the world. And that's how he's helping you to advocate for yourself, by sharing your story with the world, by increasing awareness, to make sure that aphasia, even though we don't want it to be a household name, but it's necessary that it is a household name so that we can build awareness, so that we can build aphasia inclusion. So I hope all that makes sense. I have one more comment that I want to share with you guys. Yes, tell the person with me in advance, or simply point to the menu. Wait staff is usually quick to understand that there is a communication barrier. Thank you for sharing that. Not everybody has a positive experience like that, but you, the aphasia survivor, number one, you are a survivor, and it's so important to advocate for yourself and to be able to be flexible and do it in a variety of different ways. So we're going to wrap up for tonight, everybody. I hope you have a fabulous week. We'll see you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, here on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Take care, everybody.